think that's right. We just have to build. To me, Web3 is inevitable. It's just a question of when and where. Sadly, I think today with the heavy regulations, you're seeing a lot of US investors and US participants being banned from Web3 apps. And I think a lot of the developers are either choosing to stay at home in their foreign countries or fleeing overseas. So it'll happen. It's not stoppable any more than the internet is. It's just a question of when and where. And I think that any regulator or any politician who sort of stands in the way of tens of millions of creators from getting paid is essentially going to be in the garbage bin of history, the dustbin of history, because creators and influencers, by definition, set the culture. And a lot of politics is downstream of culture and technology. And if you resist technology and you resist culture, and you prevent the cultural the culture of people from making money and by being free to earn what they're building, you're not going to be popular as a regulator or as a politician. Your days are numbered. You've lost the youth vote. You've lost the middle age vote. So I think over time this is inevitable. I just hope that it does happen in the U.S. to some degree, and I think the race is to build mass market applications that the creators and their fans adopt over the next year or two, before heavy-handed regulations from the 1930s that were securities laws that were written for something completely different,
Right.
are applied to the sector and just completely snuff out the innovation. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people just don't understand it, and it has been my unfortunate experience throughout life that generally for completely new paradigms, and I don't use the word lightly, but I think it applies here. This is one of the rare cases where it really does apply. For new paradigms, the old guard literally has to die out or be thrown out of power before the new thing can come into its own. And I've seen this with, we see this all the time in technology, of course. I saw it myself with AngelList. Like we couldn't use the existing GPs on the platform. We couldn't get the existing LPs on the platform. We had to create our own new GPs and our own new LPs. Twitter and YouTube didn't win by bringing in movie stars and journalists. They had to create their own native creators who really live and die based on the platform. And so, the same way, I think that in crypto and tokens and adoption and Web3, it's going to be a whole new breed of creators. It's going to be a whole new breed of programmers. It's going to be a whole new breed of artists. And it may even be new countries and new regulators and new politicians who sort of lift the crypto banner, realize that this is the future, and say, well, the US, United States, for example, the West was a huge beneficiary of the open internet. And there are countries out there that will decide to be huge beneficiaries of open Web3, which is far more open than the base internet or Web2 ever were. One last point I'll make is I think that today a lot of crypto and Web3 is not truly decentralized. There's a lot of decentralized in name only going on, and the teams are identifiable. The work they're doing is like local. There's like they're operating at the center. These networks can't run without them. So they're like mostly decentralized or partially decentralized, but not completely. And so I think right now there's still targets to go after. But the more regulators go after these targets, the faster it sort of evolves into becoming completely secure and anonymous and distributed. Like a true DAO to me is not something where you can point out who the people are and and it's interacting with offline or regulated assets. A true DAO is one morning you wake up as a regulator 20 years from now, and it's all crypto punks and bored apes and what's not running the thing. You literally don't know what country any of them live in. You don't know who any of them are. You can't even really tell what they're doing because it's all happening in encrypted smart contracts, and they're only getting paid in crypto and never cashing out to fiat. And they're doing things that are entirely in the metaverse or the ideaverse. Where does that company even exist? Where does it live? Who does it
Right.
belong to? Right? That's a true DAO. And I think true DAOs, we're still kind of working our way towards those, but the more heavy handed regulation you see, the faster we are going to get there. One of the things that we haven't really talked as much about on this conversation so far is if you want to look 1 year out, okay, games are coming to blockchains and that's going to be cool. But you want to look 3 years out, zero knowledge proofs are going to be everywhere, and they're going to be at the core of how these blockchains and DAOs and identities and networks operate. And zero knowledge proofs are a closed system. They're a completely closed box. And when they become to the core of crypto protocols and they become normalized, I think you're going to see a level of decentralization that we're still scratching the surface on. It's going to be true decentralized Web3.